outside of Trenton, it scares me sometimes, though. I wish I had a better mind. I mean, I have such a rotten mind. For a guy that grew up reading Raggedy Ann and Raggedy Andy, I sure turned out a mess. You know, whenever I think of Trenton, right outside of Trenton, there is this big sign, and it shines out in the darkness. As you drive along, it's pitch black out there, see? And in the darkness, you see this big huge neon sign, and it's an enormous arrow. And it just keeps going, eat. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, and everyone says, eat. And it's an angry sign. I mean, it's like, eat, you slob. It just keeps going, eat, eat. If you're the kind of person I am, and God help you, friend, if you are, I would not wish it upon you, but if you are that kind, you're driving along, and the average guy, obviously, when he drives along, he sees that sign, he says, hey, Myrtle, how about let's have a hamburger? But it doesn't affect me that way. I see that big sign, and I think of other words they could put on it. Well, you know, nice words like, oh, shucks. And so you know, on this night, here it is, it's late in August, and in fact, in just a few days, it's going to be September, and already I detect the great nervousness out there. It's another year starting. Already I feel it in the air. Kids are writing me letters saying, Shepherd, I gotta go back to school. What am I going to do? I say, go back to school, kid. That's the best racket I ever discovered. There ain't nothing like the school racket, I'll tell you. And I keep getting these letters, you know, and you get the New York Times at this time of the year, you know, it says back to school fashions. And there are 900 pages of these guys. You know, you see it in Esquire and Playboy. And they're all standing around real big. You notice they're all standing like this. And there's always one guy standing back of the other guy with his hand on his shoulder, and he's going like this. And the third one is sitting here, and he's holding a football. And underneath it is the caption. It says, the man on the left is wearing the new sharkskin trousers with the new rubber, and on it goes. But then I think how it really is. Yeah, I think how it really is. When I was a kid, you know, my idea of getting dressed up for school was changing my underwear. I mean, you're all summer, now it's time to go to school. You put on your underwear. First time in 3 months I wore a shirt. You know, I put on my underwear, put on my shoes. This is what the well-dressed guy's going to wear when he goes back to school, jockey shorts. And no wonder 97% of us feel vaguely cheated by life. Because we see the ads. And you know, the ads paint such a fantastic picture. These guys are all standing there with their shirts, and their shirts, you know, they're clean and neat, very sharp, and the collars are always up. And you notice their faces are always orange. And they've got hair that hangs down, you know, it's like Tony Curtis, and they're all standing there, and in the background you can see the old campus. And there's trees, beautiful trees hanging over the campus. And you see this long curving walk. And 5 brand spanking new XKE Jaguars are lined up. And there you see the ad building, which looks like it was designed by Thomas Jefferson out of the Taj Mahal. And then I think of where I went to school. I think of this crummy red brick building. I remember the first time I walked past the ad building, the administration building. They had a sign in the window. It said 25 pounds of ice today. And sitting out in the parking lot was the faculty's automobiles. There was a whole collection of 48 Fords, 51 Chevys. And out on the other parking lot were the students' cars. 5 Jaguars, 36 new Aston Martins. And so no wonder we all vaguely feel cheated, because I wonder how many guys get these things that say the fall fashions for men. You look at this. Here's this corduroy coat. It says the new olive dun heather corduroy coat, designed in Scotland for men who appreciate the subtleties of the outdoor life. That's me. I like to walk around the block. Nothing like going out and looking at the sky once in a while. And it's got this big roll collar, and it's magnificently cut. And 5 minutes later, you have laid out 64 simoleons for this coat. But they didn't show you the back of it, where it comes up and sticks you behind the ears, and it goes up this way and catches your shirt in the back. And so then you begin to feel that you are inadequate. It wasn't the coat that was bad. It was you. Why am I like that? Have you ever gone and looked in your closet and looked at that motley collection of junk? 4,000 pounds of stuff that even the Salvation Army would get mad at. And you've got one pair of pants that are wearable. You've got this one coat that you consider your great coat. And inside, if you open up the lining, you have rotted it away under here. You have to keep it closed, And all the while, it's got this padding in the top, and it's got these horsehairs in the padding, And 2 of them have drilled their way all the way into your collarbone. That's your good coat. And then you see the real people. The people who really have clothing. People like Johnny Carson on TV. It's always so natty. Great. You never get the sense, ever, that his underwear binds it all. The only place you ever really see that is on TV watching a ball game. Oh, yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you a terrible thing that happened to me. I don't know whether I ever told you this, but it was a time when I earned a meager living playing baseball. And I was playing in a minor league, way down, look, the Class D leagues. Do you know anything about minor league baseball? Well, this is Class D. I mean, this is so low in the minor league hierarchy that the major leagues were kind of a rumor. I'm serious. We were playing an entirely different ball game than they were playing. And we spent all of our time in this Greyhound bus. And our ball team was so poor, it was the Rock Island Rockford Colts in Illinois in the 3I League. And we were so poor, we could not afford a dressing room. So that meant that every night we all lived in this big boarding house. Every night we would get dressed at the boarding house. Can you imagine walking down the street, the whole ball team? You can hear our cleats clank, clank. We're going to work. We've got a couple of guys got their lunch buckets, I mean, can you imagine getting on the Long Island local? You get on the subway here in New York, and you get in the car and you sit down, and over here is Ron Svoboda, and here's Ed Kranepool, and they're sitting there in their suits, and they're going to work. He's got his glove. He's just going to work wearing his suit. Well, that's the way we would play, see? And then we would play this ball game. We're always playing at night. Because we figured that the only time anybody who's ever going to come to our ball games is when they let them out at night. Out of these places where they would slave for their meager living. And so about 8 o'clock at night, we would go down, we'd get out at the ballpark. And our ballpark, by the way, was a converted used car lot. I'm not kidding. We had 3 little wooden stands, see? And they had 5 light bulbs. They were the same light bulbs that the used car lot used to use. You know, and there we are out there. That was the night ball game. We'd stand around out there. I was playing third base. I'd get out third base and stand. You know, I'd seen real ball players play, see. So I knew how to stand. Put your... Yeah, take the glove once in a while. I'd walk over and I'd look at the pitcher. You ever wondered what guys say when they walk over and look at the pitcher? Nothing. I mean, we knew that you had to do this. It's part of playing ball, you know. I'd walk over to the pitcher. I remember we had this guy named Stretch, who later came up to the major leagues for 1 out. Yeah, I remember that 1 out, and I remember the day that he made the majors. They called him up. You know, we were all pulling for him. We were still riding in the bus. And we had the radio playing. Stretch came up with the Cincinnati Reds. Late in the season, he came up to pitch. They called him out of the bullpen. I remember this moment. He had arrived that afternoon. They says, looks like Stretch Jankowski. He's not on our scoreboard. He's not on it. We don't know his number. Stretch Jankowski. He's 7'9", weighs 37 pounds. He throws underhanded, it looks like. That was old Stretch, you know. Stretch was one of those guys, whenever he was worried, he would retreat into childhood. You know, and when he wasn't worried, he was up there, he'd throw that fastball. Oh, man, he had a slider. But the minute things looked bad, he'd go like this. You know, he would return to his kidhood. And it's a Stretch Jankowski is coming in to pitch, and he was relieving this famous major leaguer that all of us have heard about, and the bases are loaded. And we sat there in the bus. And the announcer who was on the air says, and now there's the wind-up. There's the pitch. It's gone. And now they're bringing in Herman Waymeyer. And 20 minutes later, Stretch rejoined our club. And to this day, he's probably talking about his major league career. Well, I'll never forget, though, you know, this moment, the one great lesson I learned about clothing. Now, you know, you've always heard the expression that the clothes make the man. Well, that's questionable, you know. But then, on the other hand, it can unmake the man. And I recall one season, my second year, I have worked my way up now to the Class C League. And now there are people in the stands. In fact, we, on a big Sunday afternoon, we would draw as many as 180. Big doubleheader, you know. We'd be playing Muncie or somebody like that, one of the big teams. And I remember all of a sudden at this time of the year, you know, this is when baseball gets very nervous. It's late August. And you've lost 150 pounds. And now you're like a razor. And the uniforms, we had one uniform. As a matter of fact, our ball club was so poor we did not have traveling uniforms. We didn't have at-home uniforms. They had uniforms that were in between. They were always gray. So they looked like tattletale gray. So that you could wear them at home. You know, under baseball rules, the home uniform is white. And on the road, they're gray. And we wore the same uniforms. But they were just the right color. They could pass for white or gray. And I remember one afternoon, late in August. Oh, you don't know how it feels to be a professional athlete. And your paycheck, they're 3 weeks behind paying me. My batting average has dropped 40 points in the last 6 weeks. And I don't know what's the matter. I'm sitting down in a dugout. And the crowd is out. It's Sunday afternoon. And they're all out there. And this chick that I'm dating is sitting back of home plate. It's late in the third inning. We've got 2 outs in the second game of a doubleheader, and it's getting dark. We have dropped the first game 9-1. I have gone 0 for 5. And I didn't hit a good foul ball all day. And now it's the third inning of the second game. I'm looking out. The guy just before me gets a single. It is short center field. The game is tied 1-1. He steals second base. And now I'm up at bat. Shepard is going to add his 17th RBI for the season. I dig in. You like that thing the ball players always do, you know? We had it all going down there in the minors, you know. And the crowd, you could hear them murmuring. What a moment. I step in. He's getting his sign. He's only got 2 pitches. This guy ain't going no higher than Class C. He's got 2 pitches. He's got the slow inside one, and he's got the one into the screen. He has just waved off both of them. And I'm thinking, what the hell now? Is he going to roll it up here? Up there in the crowd, you know, they're starting that rhythmic clapping, you know. Shepard's like this. Well, the first pitch goes by and gets the outside corner. Strike 1. That's a gesture of defiance. All right. Strike 2. Idiot. All right. The third pitch. It was like a watermelon. I mean, that pitch came down and I could see faces on it. I mean, it had its tongue sticking out at me. It came down the pipe. Oh, I'll tell you, it was one of those kinds, you know, you just lay in it. This is it. All month I've been waiting for this one. It was my pitch. My pitch. Well, what do? So I start walking back to the dugout, and it was that moment that it happened. I'm dragging the bat when all of a sudden the manager, and the ballpark is quiet. It's like a tomb. I have just struck out. The manager sticks his head out of the dugout and hollers, "Hey, Shep! Shepard! I know why you're having trouble to swing." I got the bat. I'm about 30 feet from the dugout. Everybody's watching. The girl, the chick I'm going out with, sitting back at home plate is watching. He don't know what the trouble is. Tight underwear. And the entire crowd roared with applause. You know, and I get back into the dugout, and I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Tight underwear." He says, "Tomorrow morning, go to Kresge's." He says, the ball club will buy him. Go to Kresge's. Go to Kresge's and buy yourself 3 pair of underwear 4 sizes bigger than you're wearing. I says, "Okay." Would you believe it? Starting that Monday, my batting average climbed. I gained 43 points in 1 month. Let that be a lesson to you. Could it conceivably be that one of the reasons why you're here tonight at the Limelight and not at Sardi's? Could it conceivably be that why you're at the Limelight tonight and you're not sitting uptown in the Four Seasons somewhere wearing a pair of black glasses with Zsa Zsa Gabor opposite you? Could it be tight underwear? You ever ask yourself that? Just think about it for a minute, friends. Yeah, well, of course, these things affect you all the time. As a kid, you know, there was this guy came on the air one day, and I heard him say he's a rookie ball player. And Bob Elson was interviewing him, and Elson said, "Do you have any superstitions?" He said, "Nah, I ain't got no superstitions." He said, "Well, is there anything you do before the ball game to get ready?" "Well, there's one thing I do. I always put my socks on in the right rotation." Bob said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, you see, if I had a good day the day before, I put my socks on the same way that I had them on the day before. Like, see, I got this little red thread in my sock, and if I had the red thread on my right foot when I went 3 for $4, I'll wear it like that the next day. Bob says, well, that's a superstition. No, ain't no superstition. It's just what I do. Well, does it work? You damn betcha. He said, well, what happens if you go on a hitting streak? He said, I just don't ever change my socks. This guy gone for 8 weeks, hitting every ball game. He wasn't easy to be near. But, you know, I'm listening to that out there. I'm a kid, you know. You're very impressionable when you're a kid, you know. But I'm sitting there, I'm thinking of that. I said, you know, I never thought of that. I never thought that what sock goes on what foot could be crucial. And ever since that time now, I know better. I have no known superstitions. I guess. They're just some things I do. You know? But I have no known superstitions. And every morning, though, when I get up and I'm having a bad week, I start thinking about which foot my sock is on. And I wonder if President Johnson... I wonder if President Johnson figures he's in a slump. You know, and he's going to change the way he wears his socks. Well, you know, you never know at what moment in your life you're going to have one of these terrible moments of insight. Like the other day, my telephone rang. I picked it up. The guy at the other end says, who was the first president of the United States? I said, who wants to know? He said, I want to know. Who was it? I said, oh, you idiot. Everybody knows that. Thomas Jefferson. He says, right. You have won 3 free rides out at the Palisades Amusement Park. I said, I've won what? He says, 3 free rides at Palisades. Any ride you want. I said, gee, I'm a winner. He said, yeah. Okay, call for him at the gate. I have not used them yet. That means that I still have a few assets left. That if everything is up against the wall, I know that I can always get on the Whirl-a-Monkey. And you know, I thought about that. I thought, gee, the Palisades Amusement Park. It's almost the end of the season. And one year, when I'm a kid, I'm about 13 or 14. One of the very first dates I ever had. Do you remember your really early dates? I mean the early ones. When you didn't call it a date, you were just going out. You and Cashmere are going out. And these 2 girls are going along. It's not really a date. You don't want to admit it, you know. And we had this place in Chicago called Riverview. Did you ever hear of it? The Riverview is the Palisades Park of Chicago. And it was like a mecca for all the kids. And they had these rides, thousands of rides. You know, merry-go-rounds, they'd shoot the chutes. They had the Whirl-a-Monkey. They had all... the Whirl-a-Monkey. That's a great one, I'll tell you. That's a real gutbuster. and they had all these rides, see? And one Saturday they had 2-cent day. Well, that was in our league. And so Cashmere says to me, how about let's go in on a streetcar. I'll take Helen Wetters, and you take Esther Jane Alberry, and we'll go to Riverview Park. I said, yeah. That's a great idea. 2 cents, you know, and between the two of us, we had about 48 cents, which meant we could really get, you know, have a whole fantastic thing all day long, except for one thing. There was, in this amusement park, one ride. Now, I don't know whether any of you have ever had any experience with the truly terrifying ride, but there was one ride right in the heart of Riverview called the Bobs. This ride, well, it was partial suicide. It was an exercise in total masochism. It was one of these rides that went straight up, and you'd stand there and you'd hear the cars, you know, they'd go tick, 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 tick. You'd see it way up there. It would be so high in the clouds that the top of the peaks of this roller coaster were gray with the clouds. And then you'd hear, ah! Whoa! Well, all of us kids would go there every week, we'd see this thing. And only the real men went on this. Like my old man and Uncle Carl. Whenever the whole family would go, they would put all the kids and all the wives, all the mothers would have to get off to one side, and Uncle Carl and my old man would say, we're going on a Bob's. They'd walk up, they'd buy the tickets, and all the kids would say, bye, Dad. He'd say, so long. It's like Van Johnson going up and he's going to take a pill box. So long, gang. And then we'd see him go up on this thing, see? And then you'd hear him go, whoa! And 4 hours later, they would find Uncle Carl. He'd be found somewhere up in a place where they're throwing the free basketballs, and he'd be green. And it was a ride that and it was the ride, by the way, that all the kids would always threaten each other. One day they're going to go on. Well, we're out there this day. It was late in August, and I'm about to learn a lesson. Boy, I didn't know it. And so we'd had about 5 of these, these spun sugar cones, with the big pink stuff. It makes your teeth itch. I've never been able to understand that. I'd eat this thing and I feel my feet itching. Boy, my fillings, I had about 400 little silver fillings. They would all start ringing together. Columbia, the gem of the ocean, they're playing. And I had 9 taffy apples, the kind with the big red things all over it, and I'm eating that stuff, and 4 boxes of popcorn, 19 hamburgers, and we've gone on the merry-go-round and the shoot-the-shoots, and now we are walking past the Bob's. Wow! We're walking past. Here's this guy standing. All right, let's go. Just 2 cents. It's 2 cents today. Come on, let's show them you're real men. Let's go. What do you say, Cash? And over here is Esther Jane. And Esther Jane says, let's go on the Bob's. Let's go. And what are you going to say, And how many times you see these movies where you see these people looking so happy, they're in the car, they're on the roller coaster, and they're oh, wow, and their hair is flying. And it's a cigarette commercial. Say, for those who know how to really have fun. Hooray, Well, 5 minutes later, me and Kashmir are sitting in this car, see? I'm in the front car, right in the front. Directly behind me is Kashmir. Over here is Esther Jane, right next to me. And back there is Helen Weathers. We've got a hold of the bar, see? And we're going tick, 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 tick. It went up and up and up like the Alps. You want to hear what happened then? Come on, let's hear it. Okay, we will. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Come on, let's hear it. Come on. There's always one very thin girl.
Weekday afternoons at 1 and at 3 o'clock on WOR. It's the news with Lyle Van.
Palisades has a ride, Palisades has a fun. Come on over. Shows and dancing are free, so the parking's so G. Come on over. Palisades from coast to coast, where a dime buys the most. Palisades Amusement Park swings all day and after dark. Ride the coaster, get cool in the waves, in the pool, you'll have fun. So come on over.
Robert Sylvester of the Daily News says about Palisades, I never saw an amusement park so safe, so clean, and so well policed. Palisades Amusement Park is easily reached by public service buses from the George Washington Bridge Terminal and by orange and black buses from the 41st Street and 8th Avenue bus terminal. Schraff's would like to take this opportunity to announce an amazing breakthrough in frozen chicken pie. Big chunks of chicken. This is WOR 710, Radio New York. At the tone, 11 o'clock, time for the news. At 11, here are the top stories in the news from the WOR newsroom. A legal dispute is shaping up over who will bury the assassinated American Nazi Party leader, George Lincoln Rockwell. Earlier today, the extremist group announced that Rockwell will be buried in a Virginia military cemetery. But tonight, Rockwell's brother Robert told the United Press that the Nazi Party's plans of holding a funeral for their leader on Tuesday were very problematical. The family, the brother said, wants to bury, that is, the burial to take place at Booth Harbor, Maine. The brother said a legal battle is in the works as the party claims Rockwell left a will requesting that his body be turned over to the Nazis for burial in Virginia. A semi-automatic gun has been turned over to the FBI as the weapon that possibly killed the American Nazi Party leader, George Rockwell. The gun was found in a creek near the Arlington, Virginia shopping center where Rockwell was murdered yesterday. Here now is a look at the top stories. First of all, Israeli gunners show that an Egyptian warplane today flew low over Israeli territory, and later the two countries repeatedly exchanged fire across the Suez. An Israeli army spokesman said the shooting lasted for about an hour after Egyptian forces opened fire on the enclosed Israeli units. Another 800 Arab refugees crossed the Jordan River into the Israeli-occupied West Bank today, with only 5 days to go before the August 31st deadline for the return of Mideast war refugees. Only 10,000 persons have gone back to the West Bank. Israeli forces say they will not extend the deadline. U.S. warplanes ranged north of Hanoi again today to pound a main rail artery linking the North Vietnamese capital with Red China. Air Force Thunderjets bombed rail facilities northeast of Hanoi. Other Air Force planes attacked a rail bridge north of Hanoi and blasted a concentration of anti-aircraft guns in North Vietnam's southern panhandle. Ground action in South Vietnam is mainly light, but the Viet Cong fired 10 to 20 mortar rounds on a city in the Mekong Delta, wounding 50 Vietnamese civilians and 4 Americans. Vice President Humphrey has told fellow Democrats meeting in Los Angeles to stand behind President Johnson in next year's election. Speaking by telephone from Minneapolis, Humphrey said, "We're going to have a joint victory or we're going to have separate funerals." Party members attending the Western States Democratic Conference also heard National Democratic Chairman John Bailey say the Republicans may nominate California Governor Ronald Reagan for president next year. In sports today, the rain washed out the Mets, their 2 games with the Chicago Cubs, a twin bill that will not be rescheduled unless they suddenly become crucial to the final National League standings. While the Yankees wound up on the short end of a 4-3 score with Washington. In other American League action, Boston 6, Chicago 2, putting the Red Sox a full game in front of the rest of the American League. California 5-4 over Baltimore in the first of 2. The second game was rained out after 4 innings. Detroit 5, Kansas City 2. The Tigers keeping pace with the Red Sox, and Minnesota lost a full game, losing to Cleveland 5-2. Another National League game, San Francisco 3-1 over Atlanta in their first game. The second game, a marathon 14-inning affair, with the Giants taking that one as well by a score of 3-2. Cincinnati 6, Houston 1 this afternoon. Tonight, Houston 7, Cincinnati 4. And Philadelphia 1, Pittsburgh 0. St. Louis and Los Angeles just getting underway. In pro football exhibition games, the National League Washington Redskins defeated the American League Boston Patriots 13-7 at Boston, while the New York Jets edged out the Houston Oilers 13-7 in preseason play at Charlotte, North Carolina. No golf today as rain washed out the second round of the Westchester Golf Classic at Harrison, New York. The wet weather also forced cancellation of play in the National Doubles Tennis Championships at Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. In racing, What a Pleasure won the Hopeful Stakes at Saratoga with Royal Trace second and Exclusive Native third. At Roosevelt Raceway tonight, the feature was won by number 5, Perfect Freight, and the Daily Double number 1, Confetti Hanover, and number 7, Hop Along. Now a look at our weather for New York City and vicinity. Mostly cloudy and humid tonight, a chance of showers toward dawn. The low temperatures in the mid-60s. Mostly cloudy and humid with a thunderstorm or 2 likely Sunday and Sunday night. High temperatures in the mid-70s on Sunday with a low in the upper 60s. Variable cloudiness, cooler, less humid on Monday with a chance of late afternoon showers. Mostly southerly 10 to 15 miles per hour winds for Sunday and Sunday night. Right now, under cloudy skies, our temperature is 68 degrees. That's the latest news and weather from the WOR newsroom. Gable, Spence reporting. Weekday mornings at 11:15 on WOR, it's Alfred and Dora McCann. This is WOR 710, Radio New York. For free cultural information and brochures and activities in the city, visit the New York City Cultural Information Center at 148 West 57th Street near 7th Avenue. Open Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. or telephone Judson 2-5555. That's Judson 2-5555. Now we rejoin Gene Shepard at the Limelight.
That concludes tonight's salute to Mayor Lindsay and... Out there in the darkness right now, they're towing your car away. Oh, the mayor gets the last laugh. This is Fun City, friends. There's a lot of ways to spell it. I wonder what he meant. Oh, well, out of the mouths of babes. But you know, I'll tell you though, that moment we left me and Cashmere, Helen Weathers, and Esther Jane Albury approaching the peak of the Bobs. Well, I'm hanging out at a bar, see, and I look down, and as far as I can see, it's the first time I've ever been airborne. I mean, I could see houses down there. And down there are regular walking around little people. And you get this terrible sense of total insecurity. You know that feeling the first time you've ever flown in an airplane? And all of a sudden the ground just goes boom, and you haven't moved. So what the hell are they doing with the ground? And then you get this feeling like it's all toys, you know. You know, it's silly how ridiculous. How you used to worry about those little people walking around in those houses and those cars. And here we're going, tick, 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 tick. And back of me, I can hear Cashmere. I hear... And Helen Weathers, who weighed 314 pounds... Helen Weathers is sitting there. She was one of these girls, you know, that cut their hair like this. You know that kind? But she had this, it looked like a big pot on her head, see? And Helen Weathers is hanging out to that bar back there, see? And sitting next to me is Esther Jane. And I am getting sick. I'm telling you, we're almost at the peak of this thing. See, I'd never been in my life on a roller coaster, ever. And I was not only on a roller coaster, friends, I was on the Bobs. I mean, this is like going into orbit. I mean, generation after generation of people in Chicago have been traumatized for life on that 1 2-minute ride on the Bobs. And now we're at the peak. I look down. Instantly, you could see that long ribbon going down, 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 down. And it disappeared into a black tunnel 4 miles below. We tilt for a second. You know that moment we hang up there? Ding, 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 ding. It stops. And I can hear it. And Esther Jane is going, whoopee! I'm hanging on to it. Isn't it fun, honey? And I felt myself being pulled forward. And Esther Jane is hollering, whoopee! And I can hear Helen Weathers going, hooray! And I hear Cashmere. And as I went down that thing and it started up again, I had 7 taffy apples, remember? For breakfast that morning, I had 9 banana Twinkies. I had a bowl of Ralston. I had a quart and a half of Ovaltine. And now I've had 3 cheeseburgers, 4 hamburgers, and a hot dog. And as we started up, it went, whoa! All of that stuff kept going. I mean, have you ever had stuff pulled out of you by centrifugal force? I wasn't sick or anything. It was just going out of my ears. And then we started up, and there it was hanging in midair. And the whole car went right through it, And I could hear them all the way back, 9 cars back. Who's the slob of the front? And now we are going, wow, 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 tick, 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 tick. Wow! So help me, I want to tell you, I had not had watermelon for 2 years. A piece of watermelon flew out. An old piece of turkey from Thanksgiving. We're going up and up and up again. And here she's sitting next to me, this chick. She's turned into a monster. She said, up we go again. Oh, no. And sweat, I'll tell you. Oh, I'll tell you, I started out, I was a healthy kid. And I was, I was a 97-pound weakling. Now I'm a 12-pound weakling. The sweat, my socks were wet, and I'm hanging on this thing. And it was an iron bar. Now I want to tell you, you've heard stories of superhuman strength. It was an iron bar. I squeezed it so tight, it was sticking out of my hand like sausages, And I'm hanging on this thing, tick, 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 tick. And on the side, it had a big Donald Duck painted. I could see Donald go quack, quack. Up we're going, tick, 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 tick. And they had that one final last turn. It was one that went up over 17,000 feet. You dropped straight down 900 feet. You did a slow barrel roll. Then they went into a fast dive again and a late pick out, and then they would stop at the bottom of the mouth of this giant cave. And I see the cave down there, see? It's a great big cave. There's amusement park caves and a big mouth. Big teeth, see? We're going right at it. Tick, 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 tick. And I looked at, and Cashmere's gone. He has split, he has. Somewhere back in that monstrous labyrinth, he says, so long, baby, I'm going. I don't know where Cashmere is, and I just see Helen Weathers sitting there, big fat Helen, She's loving it. Oh, wow, isn't this fun, Jeannie? Wow. Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Tick, 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 tick. Oh, down we went. 4,000 miles down. The stuff is coming out. All of a sudden, that hamburger caught in one ear. Oh, what a moment. And we're coming closer to that mouth. I'm still alive. Here she is sitting next to me, see? Esther Jane, that sweet little girl. That little girl that I had been protecting in those fistfights out there on the playgrounds that she'd get in with May all the time. I'd go in and I'd fight May for her. Here she is sitting there next to me. And I hold on this thing. And you know how those guys come along and say, all right. Blink. All right. And I see Cashmere now. He is flat on the floor. He is holding on to the floor. And Helen Weathers has got a hold of his foot. Come on, let's go, Cash. He says, I'm looking for a nickel I lost. He's faking it, you know. And now we get up on the platform, see? And next to me is Esther James, who is about to deliver the coup de grace. This guy's walking along. He's got his little puncher, you know, and he's selling tickets. He said, all right, let's go. Move on here. And the rest of the people are coming on. He says, you want to go on again? And she says, yes, let's go again. She wanted to go again. Gee, I was going to fake it. See, I got no money. I reach into my pocket, and as I pull up my pocket, like no money, out came 17 pennies. And 5 minutes later, we're on the bobs again. Well, do you know that we took 4 complete rides that afternoon? Kashmir, from that day on, Kashmir had trouble speaking. I forgot how to spell. And somewhere out in the darkness, Esther James and Helen Weathers are still taking husbands for rides. And you know, when you learn these terrible realities about yourself, sometimes you can face them. Other times you don't. Now, like the last time I was at Palisades, they've got this big ride there, see? I walked past it. I'm with a bunch of people. They said, let's go on the roller coaster. I said, they don't do nothing to me. If there's one thing they do, it's something. Well, I'll tell you, I've had some terrible times on these rides. You know, one time, and by the way, just about an hour ago, before I came in here, I see a couple of GIs walking along in front of the Limelight, see? These 2 guys. And they've got that look in the eye of, we're in town. What are we going to do now, Herbert? You know, they got each one little stripe. They got the hat, you know, walking around. They got the short haircut, goes all the way up. And by the way, there's a great name in the Army for that haircut, which I can't put on because radio hasn't grown up yet. And so here they're walking around. See, and I look at these 2 guys, and I thought at the time, maybe I better not tell you this story, because after all, you are here in the Limelight, and you do have, you're eating hamburgers and stuff. Do you want to hear the worst night out that I ever had in the Army? You know, some nights, I'll tell you, it's terrible. At 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm lying in the sack now, you know. I'm lying there. And have you ever had this experience? It's 2 o'clock in the morning, 3, 4 o'clock, and all of a sudden, for no reason at all, you wake up, and it's quiet. You can hear traffic somewhere off in the distance. Somewhere you can hear a subway. And then, without any warning, you see a scene or you remember something that once happened to you, that's so far back in your subconscious that you never actually pull it out like a Kodachrome slide. Well, about every year and a half, especially during the summertime, I'll wake up at 3 in the morning and I will see me and Gasser, brand new T5s. You know, that's a corporal. For those of you who don't know what a T5 is, it's a corporal with 2 stripes with a T under it. Now, that doesn't actually mean temporary. What it really means is that they've given him the corporal stripes, but they don't trust him. that he's really just an honorary corporal. And he can't tell nobody to do nothing. But they've given him the 2 stripes, which is the worst kind of ugly cut. And so Gasser and I have got our new stripes on, see? And we are stationed not far from where we're broadcasting tonight. We are stationed at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey. I can tell you've never been there. Oh, poor fools. I've always had a feeling if you said hell. Oh! 9 guys that applaud. It's their hometown. You know, and we are stationed in Fort Monmouth, and one afternoon in August, we had been out on one of these long, involved field trips all week. Now, a field trip is more boring than even boringness itself. It's very difficult to tell a person who's never been in the Army that one of the things you feel most of all, you don't feel resentment. You know, you don't feel bugged that you're in the Army. That's only civilians feel that. And you may feel that about the first 5 minutes you're in. But after you get to really be in the Army a couple of years, you know, you begin to work in boredom. It's a tangible property. It's like silly putty. Yeah, and you sit in a tent, for example. Here it is, you know. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. In just 15 minutes, we're going to have chow. SOS. We're going to have SOS and grape jello. What a great combination. We're also going to have a cup of raisin Kool-Aid. Yeah, that was called the Purple Death in the Army. That's what they gave us to drink. They had 3 ice cubes for the entire company. And it was lukewarm all the time. So here we'd be sitting. It's 5 o'clock, see, in our Class A's. We're going to have retreat. We just sit. You know, you learn after a while that you can turn your mind off, just like an electric light. And there's nothing between your ears but a big ball of cottage cheese. And Gasser's sitting over there like this. And 2 of us are sitting waiting. And in between us is this great big mass of boredom. It's like silly putty. Once in a while, one of us would take a piece of it and start working with it. What's this? See a rabbit. Working with the boredom. And you do little things like you start picking at your stripe. Anything to keep your mind going, you know? Or you take your shoe and you start poking it. Oh, look at that. I never noticed it's got a lace there. This one's got a lace, too. Huh. That's the Army. Then you get up and you start polishing your belt. Then you start pulling your ears. Well, one afternoon, we have been all out on the field trip all week. And we've been grubbing around out in the boondocks. You know the Jersey marshes? I know every last lizard personally. So we come back, see, after all this digging in the boondocks. And now, this afternoon, we have got a pass. Me and Gasser. In about 10 minutes, we're going to go out. And we're all excited. We have been confined to the company area now for over 3 months. Our company. Because we were supposed to be in training for a special assignment. What a special assignment. Someday I'll tell you about how it actually panned out. This was the 362nd, the 3162nd Signal Airborne Mess Kit Repair Battalion. I'm not kidding, yeah. Me and Gasser, we're in the Handle platoon. And this afternoon, the 2 of us are waiting. We're sweating it out to get our pass. Now, you never knew. At any moment, they may pull your pass without any warning. It was always touch and go. Is there going to be a weekend? Is there not going to be a weekend? What's going to happen? We're sitting there in our tent. It's hotter than, oh, boy, is it hot. We're waiting. We're anxious. Once in a while, you hear a guy walk past on the duck boards. Clunk, 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 clunk. That's a guy who ain't going nowhere. Because all the guys that were going out that afternoon were in the tents waiting, anxiously, for the inspection. We had an inspection every Saturday afternoon before you could get out. And the way it worked was this. Sergeant Kowalski would come walking out of the orderly room, and behind him would be Lieutenant Cherry. Lieutenant Cherry is a first lieutenant, which was his life sorrow. All of his life, he wanted to be a captain. I mean, and here he was not only just a first lieutenant, but he was assigned to Company K. And so the two of us, waiting to be inspected. And we hear Lieutenant Cherry approaching. And right behind him is Sergeant Kowalski with his clipboard. And you know how they do this? I mean, I've often wondered how it would work in civilian life. Let's say at BBD&O. If every morning the first sergeant walks by with a clipboard. Let me see them fingernails. I mean, we're grown-up men. You got to show them your fingernails. And so we hear them walk past. And now they're at the face of our little tent. Gasser jumps up and says, "Attention!" We both stand. In walks the sergeant. There's his old friend Shepard. Here's Gasser. Well, you know, I don't know what it is. There are some people, because of the look in their eye, that other people automatically want to kill. They don't have to do anything. It's just something in their eye. Well, for years, this is the way my relationship was with Kowalski. Every morning, they'd call roll. And our little company, we've been together 3 years now, see. 3 years we're together. And the captain would be up there, Lieutenant Cherry would be with him, and Kowalski'd start calling out the roll. He'd say, Adams, Adamowski, Baker, Buffon, Cobalt, Campbell, Carras, Heater, Whoa, Hee-Haw, Rada, Rada, and all the way up and down the line, you'd hear these guys going, oh, you, oh, oh, Hee-Haw, oh, Hee-Haw, oh. It was like a symphony. Nobody ever heard the names that he called. And he didn't hear who was answering. He just knew the beat and the rhythm. And if you tried to fake it, if you tried to holler, yo, for somebody else, he knew it. And he'd go, yo, yo, he, ha, ho, me, hey, ho. And he would stop. And he would say distinctly, Shepard. I'd say, yo. He'd say, yo. Well, I was an innocent man. I was only standing way in the back. I never did nothing. I was only a PFC. What could I do? But he'd always say, Shepard, you son of a... Hep, hep, hope, Zinsmeister, hope, hep. Coming in, stage hunt. That was the way it went every morning. And now he's standing there in the tent. 3 months, 90 days, we haven't gotten out of this little chunk of canvas. And boy, are we excited. Oh, we've been saving our money. We're loaded with dough. 3 months' pay now. We both got over $12 saved up. You know, we're ready, see. We got our new suntans on. We're standing there. And Kowalski and he was this kind of first sergeant. You all know this kind. It's the guy who always wears the Air Corps sunglasses. The big black sunglasses. You can't see anything behind them. He wore them when he was asleep. In fact, he wore them in the shower. He's always got these sunglasses. Old Kowalski's a short, angry guy, built like a fire plug, you know, with feet. Yeah, he's from Pittsburgh, you know. He's a little Polak, you know. And he'd come in, he had this hat pulled down, he says, Shepard. He's waiting, see, he's got that gig pencil out. And Lieutenant Cherry walks in, see, and he's got these pink pants. Oh, yeah, there's something about officers that you know. And we're wearing these suntans, you know, and they're made out of old gunny sacks and stuff. And he comes in, he's got these beautiful pink pants, and he's got this green tunic. And he's got little badges and the big eagle all over him, you know, little cross flags and buttons and little whoopies. And he had little ribbons that would light up with the battery in his pocket, you know. Oh, yeah, he had these little bars, you know, and they were transistorized, and they played Semper Fidelis, you know. Oh, you know, he was really chicken, you know. Yeah, and all the time when he would walk, you could hear eggshells. You know, to the real GI, you could hear the sound of chickens cackling. And he walks into the tent, see, stands there, he says, at ease. Stand. This is the way you stand at ease. You can sure tell this soldier's at ease, can't you? Standing like that. Right opposite me is Gasser. He's on the other side, looking right at me, see? And in between us is Lieutenant Cherry and Kowalski with the clipboard. His greatest moments were when each tent in succession was confined. Yeah, you can just see him grow when the lieutenant says, "You guys think you're going to get a pass." Oh, forget it. Kowalski. So we have been working on our tent since last Wednesday. We have scrubbed every last square inch of it with toothbrushes. We have polished it down. Have you ever used Simonize on a canvas tent? Our tent pole, I'll tell you, we had a tent pole that was made out of aluminum. We polished that so much that it turned out to be pure teak. Beautiful. You know, we were not going to get loused up this time. Everything. We had our shoes all out and polished. We had sprayed them with plastic so they'd shine. And you know, maybe you don't know this about the Army. The Army has a thing called the foot locker. And it's like a big trunk, you know. And everybody's given this foot locker. And in the Army regulations, the U.S. Army regulations, they have a diagram of how everything should be put in the foot locker. Like, both your socks should be on the top tray on the lower left-hand side, 1/4 of an inch apart. And the sock should be rolled into a ball no greater than 1 3/4 inches around and no less. Well, you know, when you got your socks and they're made out of concrete and they come back from the GI laundry, it's pretty hard. I've known guys spend 3 weeks just folding one sock. And you have to put your toothbrush at a certain angle, your razor blades at another angle. Over here is your comb at another angle. Over here is your writing equipment at a certain angle. Well, of course, they would come and they'd inspect that. And here's Lieutenant Cherry, see. He takes out he's got this rule. It's a little, one of these folding rules. See, he says, "Shepherd, open your foot locker." Oh, that's it. There's my foot locker. All of us in Company K had long since stopped using our foot lockers. We had all gone out and bought separate equipment which we glued into the foot locker. I'm not kidding. I'm not inventing it. It was totally non-functional equipment. There was my new toothbrush. It was all glued down. The lieutenant looks at it. Very good. Very good. Gasser, let's see yours. Very good. He looks at Gasser's belt buckle. He looks at mine. Looks up. And here's Kowalski. He knew that Cherry never let him down. He and Cherry worked together like a well-oiled team. Like Himmler. You know, like Himmler and that other guy that worked for him. They were both watching. And you could see Cherry is getting a little bugged. He can't find anything wrong. He looks at our shoes. The pants we pull up, the socks are absolutely without a wrinkle. And he says, "Attention!" We're standing there in the heat. This is the moment of decision. And he looks Gasser right in the eye. He says, "Gasser, PFC, Gasser, give me your Army signal number." And Gasser, 355, he turns to me and he says, "Shepherd, give me your signal. What is your number? Let's hear it." Here, 667. He walks around. "Kowalski, these are two good soldiers." And out he goes. And you can see Kowalski. As Kowalski gets into the tent, you know, he's right in the door of the tent. He's leaving. And he just turns around, and Gasser looks at me with that great big look of relief. You know, oh, God. I look at him, and just that instant, in comes Kowalski's hand. And it made a well-known ancient Army. I always remember that. You didn't see anything but the hand come in there, see? And Gasser looks at it and he makes a bite of Out comes the hand, see? And you hear them going to the next tent. And, oh, by the way, speaking of chicken, what radio station is this, friends? And what magnificent fun city are we in?
All right, dear. What are you two quarreling about now?
Oh, would you believe beer, Mother? It's about beer.
Well, tell Mother.
Well, I brought home some Ballantine.
What's wrong with that?
Well, you know, months ago I heard they improved Ballantine.
Mother told you they made it a premium beer.
Well, yes, Mother, but I bought some. And, Mother, I'm so unhappy. He loves it. He says Ballantine's a really great beer.
So why the tears?
Well, now he's mad at me. He's mad because he says I should have bought Ballantine long ago. He says it's all my fault that he hasn't been drinking Ballantine Premium. He keeps saying, why did you wait? What were you waiting for?
What were you waiting for?
Oh, Mother.
Have you tried Ballantine since we improved it? Made it a premium beer? Ballantine Premium Beer. What are you waiting for?
Oh, wow, you don't want to have any nervous women around your house this weekend. You better lay in some Ballantine beer, quick. Ballantine beer. Lay it in for this weekend. There's going to be nervous ladies for you.
All right, we'll send it to him plain seal wrapper. Anyway, I gave him the answer. And then he hands Gasser his pass. And Gasser gives him the answer. And now we're out in the sun. We're free. We're free! We're free till tomorrow night. Oh, man, we don't have to get back into this rat race, back into this hole until 10 o'clock tomorrow night. Here we come, Asbury Park. Oh, those poor fools. Have you ever been to Asbury Park? Oh, God, how sad. And so, both of us had a pass, see, and the place where you went was Asbury Park. And in the Army, they called it Old Raspberry. There were other names for it. And we take that red and tan bus. To this day, you know, whenever I see one of those red and tan buses, I get a little sick, see. We take that red and tan bus, and both of us are sitting in the bus, you know. We're all excited. We're on our way. And there's a couple of chicks sitting there ahead of us. Oh, God, 3 months. And you know, it's funny, after 3 months, you begin to forget that the world is actually out there. And we're looking with great interest, you know. There are people wearing striped shirts. You know, there goes a guy past in a blue car. And look, they still got houses. My God, look at it, and there's a lady. I thought they'd done away with ladies years ago. You know, a lady with her pink dress, you know, with the flowers and the shopping bag are going by. And it's the real world out there. And Gasser and I are sitting in that thing. Oh, we're all thinking, you know. And he turns to me, and he says, Shep, what do you want to do the first thing when we get at Asbury Park? What would you like to do? So I'm thinking, see? And these two chicks are right ahead of us in the bus. So I figured I better not actually say it out loud. So I opt for second choice. So I say, what do you say, Gasser? What do you say that we get a great meal? How about a great meal? Now, we've been living on Jell-O, boiled beets. We've been living on mutton, powdered eggs. I mean, have you ever had a powdered egg? You know what a powdered egg is like at 4:15 in the morning? I'm telling you, friends, a man who will eat a powdered egg at 4:15 in the morning will do anything. And we have been eating powdered eggs, you know, all morning. Every morning we get these damn powdered eggs. And so now the idea of a meal is just, it's like another world. I'd ease up there, hold them down for a minute. And so Gasser says to me, he says, Shepherd, what kind of a meal do you want? And I said, well, gee, I got $12 in my pocket. And, you know, that's the one great thing about being in the Army. When you go out for the weekend, you blow it all. You don't worry about tomorrow, man. There ain't no tomorrow. And so I said, well, Gasser, how about a big steak? And he said, well, yeah. I'll tell you what I'd like to have. I'd like to have a big seafood dinner. I said, seafood? It never occurred to me. I said, oh, yeah. He said, yeah, seafood. We'll get a lobster. A real big lobster with melted butter. And then we'll get, how about before that, we'll have a big plate of cherry stone clams with some red hot Tabasco sauce. And then maybe some French fries on the side, huh? And then we'll have, let me think. How about a big slice like that, see? A big slice of Nestle rolled pie. And then we'll wash it down with, how about washing it down with Valentine's, huh? I said, gee, that's great. Oh, man, I can feel it. My mouth is watering. And, after months of SOS, after months of French toast that's fried in kerosene, the idea of this seafood dinner, and now we're sitting there, we're riding in this bus, and we can hardly wait, and now we are at Asbury Park, and there is the boardwalk. And that boardwalk at Asbury? Well, here it is, oh, what a beautiful boardwalk, and they don't have boardwalks in the Midwest. I've never really seen a boardwalk. And, I never really knew what they were. And here were all these people, little old ladies walking around, and guys getting pushed in carts. And, they had these rides, and they're selling taffy, and, oh, what a ball, see? So, and here are these two chicks ahead of us. And Gasser and I are, got our eye on them, see? And Gasser keeps saying, should we ask them to have dinner with us? And I says, well, we've only got $12. Let's see where they go to eat. And we'll follow them. And, maybe we can get a table near them. And by God, sure enough, they're walking down the old thing, Me and Gasser walking along. Yeah. Oh, it was all there. Women, seafood, the ocean, the sky, the sun, freedom. We had on our brand new suntans. What a moment. And right ahead of us, now maybe some of you know this place at Asbury Park. There is a seafood restaurant that sticks out over the ocean. It's out on pilings. And I've never eaten in a restaurant that was waterborne. And there it was, out on pilings, and they've got a great big red fish, a big neon fish on the top of it. And these two chicks walking, see? And we're right behind them. Gasser says, hey, what do you say we go to that place right there ahead of us and have a big seafood dinner? He's dropping a hint, see? And I can see these two chicks listening. Gasser says, hey, they're taking it in. And sure enough, into the seafood joint they go. And me and Gasser follow. And now we're sitting at a table. And it's just like an officer's mess. I mean, in the officers' club, one thing, there were rumors all the time that in the officers' club that they had tablecloths on the tables. Hardly any of us actually believed it. But there was a rumor, and they also had a rumor that they ate out of silver with forks and spoons. In the Army, we ate out of a mess kit. Now, a mess kit is just a big sardine can. And they give you a spoon that's big. You just shovel it up. Now, you're a real animal, see? And now we're sitting down at a beautiful table. And we're two GIs. Remember that. We've got $12 in our pockets. And at the next table are these two beautiful girls. And all kinds of people all around. I mean, civilian types. And we're really on top of it. The sun is shining down. The waiter comes over. He says, what do you have, gentlemen? And Gasser says, I'd like to start out with a big, give me a dozen. I want to start out with a dozen cherry stone clams. Big. Bring them with the ice. Well, I'm from the Midwest, friends. I had only heard of clams. I had never actually seen a clam in the flesh. But Gasser had been telling me about clams, and I somehow thought a clam was kind of like a baked Twinkie or something. I don't know what I thought. I thought maybe it was like a sardine or something. And so I said, I'll have a dozen cherry stone clams. And 2 minutes later, here they are in front of me. You know, I've often thought that the first man who ate the first clam had a hell of a lot of guts. You know, I never expected these. And Gasser, instantly, he's got that little tiny fork, you know. He takes a clam and he dips it into the sauce. Oh. And I said, gee, they're not cooked. Gasser says, of course they're not cooked. They're raw clams. He says, these are fresh. Watch. He says, take one like this and put it in the sauce. Put just a little horseradish on it, a little Tabasco. I says, are they alive? He says, you know it. They're alive. And you know, by God, that was the first time that I noticed, if you listen real careful to a bowl of clams, you can hear them moaning. And I can hear them all going, oh. Well, you know, I'm a big GI, you know, I've been out on the rifle range and all that. So I take my first clam, I dip it into the sauce, and I do exactly what Gasser has shown me to do. I go, I'm a little worried, you know, and it's fighting on the end of the stick. I can see it. Fantastic. You know, I suspect that the clam is a very primitive form of LSD. I'll tell you, my head swam. I couldn't. It was fantastic. And Gasser says, pretty good, aren't they? And I go, he says, put sauce on them, you idiot. I go, then I take one of the shells, you know. He says, no, don't eat the shells. He said, bring more. And I says, can I have another dozen? The guy says, yes. He brings me another dozen clams, and down they go. And they put the beer in front of me, and I drink the beer. Then comes the lobster. Oh, boy. And I dip it into the butter, you know, the claws, and the whole thing. And I have a great big pile of French fries. And incidentally, I'm right now in the middle, the prime part of my ketchup phase. You know, we all go through a period in our life when we put ketchup on everything. My old man put ketchup on everything he ever ate. He put ketchup on banana ice cream. I mean, he carried ketchup with him. In fact, he carried it in a shoulder holster. I mean, he just put ketchup on the Chicago Tribune before he'd read it, you know. And so I came from a real ketchup family. So here's this great big pile of French fries. I put the ketchup all over it, you know. Oh, French fries. I'm eating the lobster, and I'm down in all this sauce and everything. And I finish it all, and the waiter comes over, and Gasser and I are both sitting at our table, you know. And you know that great feeling? That feeling of satiety. You know, that feeling of completeness. And Gasser sits across from me, and he goes, bleh. I like a man who enjoys his food. In fact, I had an uncle who could sing on the mall in burps. And so I go, oop. We're both sitting there, see? Gasser says, how about the Nestle Road pie? And with that, the waiter comes up, and he's got this menu, and he says, gentlemen, since you two are in the Army, the organization here, the boss, has a little rule here that anything you'd like on the house, we'd be glad to serve to you. Anything for the boys. Gasser looks at me. I look at Gasser. Gasser says, anything? Yep, anything. And Gasser says, what do you say, Shep? I say, I'm game. He turns to the waiter and says, do it all again. The waiter says, all right, all again. 5 minutes later, I got a plate of clams. It's going down. And about 3/4 of the way through the second lobster, the great flywheel that was inside of me began to slow down. And now I am starting to chew it. Up to this point, I just go, ooh. I'm inhaling it. Now it tastes pretty good. You know, the second meal you actually taste. And the French fries, another bottle of Heinz ketchup. You know, and another 4 pounds of butter with the rolls, the whole bit, and the pickles. And then 2 great, big, magnificent slices of Nestle rolled pie. Have you ever had Nestle rolled pie? Boy, if that isn't an evil dish. I mean, it's like, it's about 190 octane. There's 17 million calories in it. And so down goes the Nestle rolled pie. Oh, boy. Followed by 3 more beers. And then the waiter comes over and says, would you 2 gentlemen care for a little brandy? Brandy? Well, at that point, I was just weaning my way out of Ovaltine. I mean, to me, brandy was something I'd heard about in reading novels by Sax Rohmer. That was something that C. Nayland Smith always had with soda. I knew what soda was, but brandy I thought was something, And he brings these 2 little things of brandy, 2 high little glasses. Ooh! Down it goes. And these 2 chicks are sitting there all through the meal. And they keep looking at us, see? And all 4 of us get up and walk out of the place simultaneously. And I feel this meal hanging down in front of me. Oh, boy. What a great feeling, and the sun is shining. It's beautiful out there. I look down, and up ahead of us are these 2 girls. We walk along the boardwalk, and Gasser says to me, what do we do now? And off to our right was a miniature golf course. Now, that's what we should have done. I mean, there were a lot of little old ladies hitting little balls, through these windmills. Right next to the golf course, let me tell you what this thing was so that you'll be warned. It's a thing that's on the top of a high tower. And on the top of this tower, there is a big girder. Now, listen to this. It's a big girder, and it hangs on a fulcrum like a big teeter-totter. And on the end of each fulcrum is a great big wire cage. And it goes around and around and around. And it starts the other way. Then it goes this way. Then it goes this way. And then it goes like that. And we're watching this, see? And the 2 girls are buying tickets. Gasser says, let's go on the ride. Let's go on the ride. And so the man standing at the gate there says, come on, fellas, let's go. There's just room for 2 more. And the next thing I know, I am sitting with Gasser in a little cage. He's sitting here, I'm sitting here, and right opposite us are these 2 beautiful girls from Neptune, New Jersey. Oh, yeah, I've always got a soft spot in my pancreas for Neptune, New Jersey. Ever since that day, we're both sitting in this little cage. They clamped the whole thing shut. We got our nice new sunpans on. We're both sitting. Now we've got these chicks in the cage, see? They can't get out. They're sitting opposite us. I'm sitting opposite this beautiful blonde. Gasser's got this lovely redhead. We're sitting there holding on to this bar. And I say to the first one, the girl in opposite me, I said, where are you from? Neptune, New Jersey. I said, oh, what a beautiful name. Neptune sounds like a beautiful town. And she says, where are you from? I'm from Chicago. She says, oh, a gangster. I said, yeah, baby. All chicks got a soft thing for gangsters, see? I says, you know it, baby. I carry my heater with me. We're both sitting there, and Gasser's making time with this chick. And outside, this guy's locking everything up. He's walking around. He says, all right, here we go. Ooh, and we start to go up. And this girl is looking me right in the eye, see? What fun. It was fun for the first 30 seconds. It really was. We started to go up, and then they tilted us straight down, and instantly all my money fell out. I could hear all my change just going past my face, see? I let go of my hand. I try to get it, and I see it all going down. I reach down, and my fountain pen goes out. And this girl is saying, oh, hey, Miss Bob, hey. Up we go, around and around. And I feel Gasser. All of a sudden, Gasser's starting to swell up next to me. I look over at Gasser, and I want to tell you this, friends. It's catching. I looked at Gasser, and I have never in my life, even in this day of psychedelic colors, I have never seen a green just like Gasser. It was kind of fluorescent. Have you ever seen a dead fish? About the third day, you know, I look over at Gasser, he's got scales and he's green. And this girl is looking him right in the eyes. See, she's looking real scared because she's right in the line of fire. We go up like this, and Gasser's money is falling out, and all of a sudden I can just feel it coming up on me. And Gasser says, what are we going to do? I said, I don't know what you're going to do, Gasser. But I felt these two thin streams go out of the ears, see, and these two girls are sitting there opposite us. We're high up in the air now, and I can see nothing but Jersey all down around it. That's enough to make anybody sick. And the ocean is going up and down out there, you know. And it's got to come out. And this girl, I said, duck! There are moments when you have to think of your fellow creature. And she ducked. And I went, whoa! And right over the top of her hair, you know. And down we went again, and woo! Oh, I'll tell you, lobsters, clams. And you should have heard those clams cheer when they came up. Oh, beer, root beer, fried taffy apples, the whole bit, up and down. And this went on for 40 minutes. It's going on. We keep flying around. This guy's down there. And every time we'd go past, Gasser would holler, stop it! He said, have a good time, boys. All right. He's running the thing. Well, we made about 428 loops, see? And now I am brained absolutely dry. And I'm so sick I can't see anything. And all of a sudden the girl opposite me says, duck! Down I went, whoa! We were comrades in arms. The Gasser's hanging down there and us flying up and down. And finally we arrived down at the bottom after, it must have been 7 hours in hell. We are awash. It's up around my knickers, you know. We get down to the bottom and the guy's running the thing, and he takes one look at us. See, there's Gasser sitting there. He's got a hold of the thing. And I'm sitting over here and I've got a hold of the thing, and the two girls are slumped over. One is slumped over. She's got her head on my shoulder. And the other one's got her head on Gasser's shoulder, and she's been, she's wrung out. We're both hanging in there. Gasser says, hold on. We're going to get out in just a second. Hold on, Shep. I'm going to die. And you know what that guy did? The guy with a straw hat? He comes along and he says, I see you guys are making time. He says, here, have this ride on me. Oh! Up we go. Round and round. And somewhere out there in the darkness, right now at this very minute, there are 45 million GIs who are out, and they're out on the town for the first time tonight. And they're going to learn something tonight. Let's give them a hand. Come on. Hey!
Weekday mornings and evenings on WOR, there are helicopter traffic reports from Fred Feldman. New Testament Light with the Reverend Spiros Zoriatis, heard at 9 o'clock every Sunday night here on WOR Radio, is a program of melody and meditation. The Reverend's purpose is to make the New Testament live.